Previously, on the One-Eyed Film Podcast.
Me and my friends just saw The Last Rodeo.
Yeah.
Sucked.
Sorry, I didn't expect that.
It was so bad. Christians, especially parents, often see Harry Potter in a light of, oh, magic in Harry Potter is bad, and it'll lead to demonic possession of some sort. And I think the magic definitely isn't. It's not explained like, oh, the magic comes from this. It's kind of there. It's a tool to be used to help the story along.
Sorry, my battery died. That's so funny.
Unfortunate time. A show would be great because you would have time to really dive into a lot of those things that aren't covered in the movies, because you can't fit a 400 to 500 page book into a 2.5 hour movie. People, I guess, that were probably in their teens when the books were coming out in the late 90s now are in their 30s, 40s now. And I think that would mean a lot to a lot of fans across the world if they were to stay true to the books and add in some of those details.
Are you watching closely?
I'm curious. So obviously, I don't even know. I should have listened to our old episode to see what we knew then, because I don't know that it was even announced. Having just, well, I guess you haven't seen the original How to Train Your Dragon. Having had those conversations of remaking something, do you think that it's going to be a situation of, I believe that live action remakes can go one way or the other, of being too close to the original and giving us nothing new. It's like the meme of hitting RTX on versus RTX off. There's truly no different experience. You may think, oh, that looks cool, and that's the extent of your thoughts. Versus changing it for the better or for the worse. For the worse, like Lilo and Stitch, as most of the people will agree on. But maybe you change it for the better. For what you're bringing up, maybe it's like you add the things that you were missing from the movies, or being more true in that way to the movie or to the books. So do you think that they'll do that, or do you think that in this age of even okay, so I have J.K. Rowling's Twitter up. Her ex, I don't know. She says, I read the first 2 episodes of the forthcoming HBO Harry Potter series, and they are so good. And that was today. No, 2 days ago. It's 2 days ago that she posted that. So she's obviously behind it. People have had their thoughts about her comments about social situations. We're not going to comment on those. But do you think that they will respect those and continue to make true adaptations to the book, or are they going to do the fan fiction or the assumptions that they've written / even go completely against Rowling just to spite her for having those views and how much backlash she's gotten?
And to my knowledge, I think that she still owns the rights to it, so I think that she must be in on the creative writing process somewhere here or there. I'm guessing now that she's older and she's a multi-billionaire that she probably doesn't care, because it'll make her money, unless she wants to be true to the story and give that to the fans like she did with the books back in the 90s. And as far as like doing remakes, I think if they were to remake the movies, it would be the same, and they would just race swap a bunch of people and add a lot of woke stuff into the movies for no reason. But since they're doing a TV show, I think definitely there is some potential, and I am holding out hope, and I do plan on watching it because it is a story that's close to my heart. But I think there is a chance that it could be good, and I hadn't heard that before. So um, I'm hoping that she keeps it true to the books as far as the story goes. And I think a big topic of conversation is when the casting was announced. There were a lot of fans that were frustrated with the race swapping, me included, is mainly because J.K. Rowling was pretty specific with her descriptions in the book about these different characters. And as far as Hermione goes, um, I looked up what she describes Hermione as,
Mhm.
and here's what the quote is from the Sorcerer's Stone. She had a bossy sort of voice, lots of bushy brown hair, and rather large front teeth. And it goes on to describe like what her personality is. And so that one honestly is one that could be race swapped well if the actor is good. The one problem that I have with it is um, like for the people who grew up is that the movies were still being made before the last books were coming out. So
Mhm.
nobody knew how the story was going to end. So the philosopher the
Falafel.
philosopher's stone
The falafel.
the philosopher's stone the philosopher's stone came out, I think, I want to say during, it had to have been Order of the Phoenix or Half-Blood
It said
Prince.
97. It says Philosopher's Stone came
Oh
out
yeah.
in 97.
The book, I think the movie came out in like 2001 or 2002, I want to say.
I will fact check.
Because I want to say Deathly Hallows Part 2 came out in 2016.
2001.
I might be wrong. I'm not sure. 2001 is when the movie came out.
Yeah. And then Deathly
What?
Hallows Part 2 came out 2011. Deathly Hallows book came out 2007. So there was still 4 years
Yeah.
between.
So like nobody really knew how the story was going to go, but those people and like watching the movies a few times is Hermione is Emma Watson. Like
Mhm.
that's what she's known for. Even if you see her in movies to this day, you're like, oh, that's the girl who played Hermione. Or you see Daniel Radcliffe in any movies is like he is Harry Potter. Like
Yep.
that is the character. So obviously he will forever be ingrained. And I do kind of feel bad for the kids that were cast. Is um they 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 won't really be known as the Harry Potter or Hermione Granger because
Yeah.
the movies were so well made and so true to the book. And
Mhm.
like Ron Weasley, I forget the actor's name, but um there
Rupert Grint.
I think he's pretty, yeah, Rupert Grint is, he's pretty much retired from acting because of those movies made him so much money as a kid, is he can just live off of that, and the royalties that come from that is they are so
Yeah.
well known. um, and I think that's where Alan Rickman was just such a good actor. Is again, he's one of those actors that he is so good at being bad. Him and Helena
Hmm.
Bonham Carter is they do so well in differentiating their characters, and yeah, he just did a very good job in being Snape. And go ahead.
Have you watched Die Hard?
Hmm.
Ellie and I
Yep.
watched Die Hard for Christmas last year, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, man, he
Hmm.
is good. Also, I'm going to bring this up. You kind of brought it up earlier where you and Dad see a lot of movies together. And you, as the youngest, get so many more movie privileges with Dad that I want and never got because I was the oldest. And he was like, we're watching Courageous at 16 at the earliest. And I'm like, I guess these are the rules that I have to follow. So, yeah,
Okay.
lucky you.
On the other side though is I didn't get to watch Star Wars because
Yeah.
and you were 13 and I get like it was scary as I never watched Star Wars because like that was like, yeah, you're gonna get scared. But I think the reason I had the youngest privilege is not because I was the youngest, but because I was trying to mature so fast to keep up with you guys, and so I got to watch those movies.
Yeah, I know. That's every youngest's problem.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I
Um.
respect mom and dad for doing that greatly because I
Yeah.
know they're listening.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I just know that my days of watching movies with dad are few and far between now, and I'm envious of you getting to do that. Anyways, back to Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So I think with Alan Rickman is he did such a good job and he was such this beloved character of Snape is like I pulled up the description of from the Sorcerer's Stone is Snape was a thin man with sallow skin, a hooked nose and greasy shoulder-length black hair. His eyes were cold and black and he looked like an overgrown bat. And then I looked up what sallow means, and sallow refers to a pale, yellowish, or unhealthy looking complexion. It usually used to describe skin that looks sickly or washed out. Um, and so I think
I think I'll put this
yeah,
up now.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
This is actually,
it,
I actually like this trend with AI.
mm-hmm,
In general, there's even versions of it that are like the older actor with their younger self, but this
mm-hmm.
version with old cast and new cast, I think is at least fun. And you can continue on your thoughts about it.
Yeah, very fair. I think I have seen this before and I haven't had a lot of time to think through it. But yeah, my main problem is like Snape being race swapped,
Okay,
especially since, yeah,
you got to clarify yourself right now so you don't get canceled.
no, is I don't have a problem with black people in general. Um,
Sorry, I just think it's so blunt.
yeah, no, okay. I have a problem with Snape being described so clearly in the book as he looks this certain way, and Alan Rickman did such a good job portraying that throughout the movies. Is that they race swap him just to race swap him, and I
Mhm.
think it was in an effort to almost just piss everybody off,
And it
and
worked.
it worked. Yeah. And I know a lot of fans are like, well, no, I don't really want to watch it because is no offense, he looks a little zesty. And is Snape gonna be gay? I don't know. Which is why I don't have the other reason is I don't have as much of a problem with Hermione because she's described as bushy black hair or brown
Mhm.
hair. And that's generally a characteristic of people with darker skin, and that's not a characteristic for like Snape. Is he has like stringy, just thin, or like just this greasy, almost feel about his character,
Mhm.
and that's not something that's easily portrayed by a
Yeah.
black person.
Yeah.
I think they had the perfect casting in Adam Driver. I believe that's his name.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, Perfect casting right there. As far as the young actors, I do kind of feel bad for them because they are going to grow up over the next probably 10 to 15 years,
Mhm.
and this is going to be their life. And I think the benefit to doing it this way is that they have they have the books. There is so much information in the books that easily a season of a TV show will cover each book.
Mhm.
Easily, there's enough there that they won't really have to write anything extra. They just have to take what's in the book and put it into a TV show.
Yeah.
Every 3 or 4 chapters has enough information in it to fill an episode.
Mhm.
And I think most every show has a problem of where they're going to end it. Like with The Office, you have this weird in between where Michael is left, and so they're trying to figure out, and they're adding new characters.
Mhm.
And so by the last 2 seasons, it's they're holding on a little too tight. The Flash, obviously, I don't know if they're still making them.
No.
Uh, so yeah, it's like they just kept going. They didn't know where to end it. They kept bringing the reverse flashback. They kept trying to keep it going. The other one I want to say is Breaking Bad. They did it's kind of like the Mission Impossible or those kind of movies where the same season was kind of the same, and it just kept going, and they didn't know where to stop.
Mhm.
Um, what's the other one I was going to talk about? Yellowstone. I really enjoyed the first few seasons of that, but now I haven't been able to watch the last season. But it just seems so hard on where they're going to end it, and I think that's where this show could be really, really good, is because there is. Let me look how many. Okay, so there is a total of 199 chapters, and 4,200 pages. So there is a lot. Here's the breakdown per book. There's 17 chapters in the first, 18 in the second, 22 in the third, 37 in the fourth, 38 in the fifth, 30 in the sixth, and 36 in the seventh, which each book has, the first few are like 300, but the last is almost 800 pages and 36 chapters. They
Mhm.
break each of that. You have like a solid 6 to 10 episode season for each, and you have 7 to 8 solid seasons.
Mhm.
Solid seasons because there is so much information. Um, it's like that's the problem that Lord of the Rings ran into, is there's so much information in those 3 books. They probably could have made 6 movies.
Yeah.
They could have easily made 6 movies. And I know, I believe I saw there's so much recorded footage that if they released it, it would be 7 continuous days long.
That's crazy.
Is there is so much information in these books, is where a TV show would be so good, which is why Rings of Power sucked so bad, is because they weren't going off of really the books. They didn't have the Silmarillion rights to make a TV show about it. So they're just kind of going off into the sunset, which is and spending billions of dollars for no reason on a show that sucked bad that nobody wanted to watch.
Mhm.
Which is why, again, I think this TV show is either going to be really good and true to the books, and the actors are just going to be different, and as a fan you can live with that because that's how it's going to be and nothing I say or do is going to change that, or they're going to just change everything about the story. They're going to just take all the lovable parts of why people like Harry Potter and switch it around for the 12 woke people that are going to watch it and enjoy it.
Mhm.
um and so I'm hoping and praying, and what J.K. Rowling said, it gives me a little bit of hope that this could be good
Mhm.
and will be enjoyable. And um I guess we'll have to see in 2026
I think
when
it should be next year.
um, yeah, when episode 1 comes out.
Yeah.
um and hopefully they don't try and skimp out on different parts and CGI and whatnot.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see two different sides of the
Mhm.
eras of CGI. Where early on, like the troll didn't look that great; it was passable. But
Yeah.
imagine if,
Yeah.
like, 25 years later, nothing's
Mhm.
improved because instead of getting better, we've gotten cheaper.
Mhm. Yeah.
You know, and I can say that as someone with a degree in animation.
Yeah.
To like, it's just as bad if you're if you're not actually making it better, you're just learning. It's like the phone problem that I follow a
Mhm.
lot of tech YouTube. They say, oh, we're making thinner phones, we're making a super slim design. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
give us better battery. Don't give us
Yeah.
a smaller battery that lasts the same amount as a regular phone. Give us a better battery that's normal sized.
Yeah.
So
Nobody asked for a thinner phone. I don't know anyone who's ever said that this is an iPhone 13 with an OtterBox case. I've never heard anyone say this is too thick of a phone. I've
yeah.
never heard anybody say this.
I mean,
Okay?
the Samsung Edge just came out, and that is the thin phone right now. And it's the people who say when you hold it, the normal one feels chunky, but
Yeah.
then you go back to using your normal one because you don't want to use,
Yeah.
because the smaller one actually has
Yeah.
worse battery life, because
Exactly.
it's thinner, and so it's like just use a normal
Yeah.
one. So
Yeah. Like,
but that's
and
that's
that's just, yeah.
I'm just connecting
Sorry.
back.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the same thing with this show, is like, nobody asked for, I'm sorry, a race swap. Nobody asked for that. What people asked for is a good show, true to the books, that does a good job of adapting from the movies. And so it's like it's kind of, nobody asked for Apple Intelligence. No, nobody asked for that.
Yep.
From what I've heard, is it's stupid. It doesn't run well, and it doesn't help anything. Um, What are they coming out with, the iPhone 17? Yeah, they're coming out with the 17. This is a normal base black 13, and it works very well.
Yeah.
Like, I have no problem. The battery's great. It runs well. You don't need anything more unless you're a tech YouTuber or you want to have a specific social status, because nobody asks for that. People
Hmm.
want a bigger battery. They
Yeah.
want to not have to have their phone on a charger all day. That's what people want. They
I
want.
think
You
I,
should focus, instead of making a 17 that looks like a Google Pixel, into making 6G. Invest money into that. Get me data
okay,
everywhere.
you're
Sorry,
you're
sorry,
getting a little off
sorry.
track. I understand your point. There's a limit
Yeah.
to what we have to say about anything versus what companies will do. Sometimes they just got to do what they got to do, and it doesn't always make sense. Sometimes it's just trying to make their goals for each year, and sometimes it's just bad decision making.
Correct.
And the reason I'm in our recording, I'm leaving our screen up of the actor comparison is just to see the differences. Most of them I actually think work. They're just different faces. We're by no means knocking black actors in the space. They do a great job. There's a difference with like Astrid in How to Train Your Dragon, who, if you didn't know, Luke, from the first one, from the original, is blonde and Viking looking. I argued that she should be blonde and Viking looking in the live action. I'm not going to die on the hill that she shouldn't have been raised up, because ultimately it's fantasy. And we're not going to say that's, I mean, I did say that's not how a dragon should look, but that's a very weak argument. When it's a book adaptation and it's described in the book, then that means objectively you are poorly adapting the book. If you're going to the work to make everybody else look like how they're described in the book, but then you're like, oh, but this guy will make sure we diversify a bit. That it's just to play to the audience, play to the left, more or less.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, again, like, the part that I run into is like, oh, it's fantasy, but also there is a place where it's set. And if you were to go to where How to Train Your Dragon, say, is set, Norway, Sweden, Finland, I'm sorry, but you're not going to see a lot of dark people, versus Mulan, which is based in Asia.
Nobody's race swapping Mulan.
Yeah,
They're only race
because
swapping other characters.
yeah, it's set in Asia. So the other thing that I'm kind of scared looking at this graphic, is Dumbledore. And in the books, J.K. Rowling wrote him as gay. He is gay, because it's written that he had feelings beyond friendship for Grindelwald, which is, they dive more into that in the Fantastic Beasts series. Is some people were all up in arms when J.K. Rowling herself said, "Yeah, Dumbledore is gay," and so I'm scared they're going to take that and run to the moon with it, because looking at the character now is how, I forget his name. Not good with names. Is the actor who played him in the movies, was just a very good, just older guy, and he's very comforting. He was very still and steady, in the way he carried himself, and so I hope they carry that into the show, rather than hopefully not making him any different than that, because that makes him such the endearing, smart, wise character that he is. So, yeah.
Well, we're gonna get off touchy subjects, and we are gonna probably wrap it up soon. But any other? What would you say to somebody who adamantly comes at you and says, like in anger? I'm kind of getting back to. I think we wanted to do this episode for like a year, since one of your friends was mad at you about your opinion. But what would you? How would you say it in a very short, clippable section that I can post on Instagram?
Yeah, I'd say if it causes you to stumble, then don't indulge in it.
That's actually good. That's way better.
Yeah. So going back to what my buddy said over text is his problem with it is I said magic isn't real, and my opinion on that has changed
Hmm.
um, in the way that I don't think magic over here in Harry Potter is the same as witchcraft that the Bible talks about.
Hmm.
Because obviously in the Bible there is witchcraft. And over the past year, I have learned that the spiritual world is very, very real.
Hmm.
Um, and the reason I say that is the Native American community, especially the Navajos, um, are more in tune with that. And
Hmm.
so I had the privilege of spending 3 or 4 days on the Navajo reservation out in Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona. And I got to learn a lot about their culture. And um, we sat down with a guy who is a Christian, and he runs a camp out there. And he was talking about he has seen a lot of spiritual activity that as a kid he thought was magic. He thought it was the legends because as a culture, they see it. In African culture, in they see it a lot more because it is a very, very, very real thing. And I think as Americans, we don't see that spiritual aspect more because we are a very scientifically based society. We are a very scientific fact culture. And I think that's where my opinion has changed is I've seen it. I honestly I know it's a little weird to say, but I felt it. Um Not magic in the sense of Harry Potter wave a wand, um something happens magic, but spiritual forces have supernatural power, and there are things out there that cannot be explained by science because it is not science, it is supernatural. Um, and I can go into that more if you want. But yeah, my opinions have changed, but again, I stand on the fact that the magic in Harry Potter is has a stark difference than the witchcraft that the Bible condemns because the witchcraft, again, I believe is very real, but is very, very different than magic over here in Harry Potter. Um, and I would stand on that, and I would yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That's a big barrier to get over. And again, like you said, if
Mhm.
it's too much for you, don't do it. We're not telling everybody they need to read Harry Potter or watch the
Mhm.
movies if you don't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
But something that I have also been awoken to over the past year is that
Mhm.
God did not say to the people of Israel and to us as humanity, don't
Mhm.
do witchcraft because it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like, don't waste your time. Don't do it because
Mhm.
it's dangerous and it does work. And you will be pulled away from relationship with the Father because of it. And so you have to be careful
Mhm.
with that stuff. Not careful, like handle it carefully,
Mhm.
like don't touch it. It's just one of those things that a lot of people take very strongly. And that's
Mhm.
where the Harry Potter stories became very touchy. But I believe that it's different. It's a tool, maybe not the best tool she could have picked, but she
Mhm.
doesn't hold the same views.
Mhm.
And it's just a tool, just like the Force. If
Mhm.
we're going to give up
Mhm.
Harry Potter magic, we need to give up
Mhm.
Lord of the Rings, Chronicles of Narnia, and maybe
Mhm.
even the Star Wars movies because they're just as bad in how they use a mystical, unknown force uh, for telling a story.
Yeah. And I think the biggest hang up is the words, and obviously words have
Mm,
different meanings in different contexts.
yeah.
Is in Harry Potter, it is Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. And I think that is one of the biggest hangups for Christians, is
Mhm.
because another thing I learned this past year is in the Pentateuch, the first 5 books of the Bible, is it talks, God forbids Israel to practice witchcraft because that is something that the other nations do. But Jesus brought in a new covenant, and with that new covenant, he still brought do not practice witchcraft. And so I think that's one of the biggest hangups among Christians is that, oh, it's Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is. Good job at word association. Sorry. Um,
This
no,
says
I say
witchcraft, and this says witchcraft. Oh, it's the same
obviously
thing.
same thing. If you read into any of it, it is very, very different. Um, and obviously, again, as the Bible says, if it causes you or a brother to stumble, stop. Pretty clear. Um, it comes down to personal convictions, and as you grow older, as you have new life experiences, as you see different things, your opinions change, your convictions change, as you grow as a person, as a human, and you do life, you see things. Is obviously in 20 years I may not hold the same conviction about Harry Potter as I do now, but as I see it now, and I have over the past 2 years, is honestly I've experienced, I've seen some of what witchcraft can do, and it's scary, but it's a lot different than what's in Harry Potter. It's a lot different than that, and I think there's a fine line between that. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Very cool. I appreciate your thoughts. I appreciate brother time.
Yeah.
And I think it's gonna get a lot of views. Probably not. Probably not
Don't
because
don't get me canceled.
well,
So people will watch the whole thing.
yeah, watch the whole thing before you leave an angry comment. I bet the person who's listening to this isn't gonna leave an angry comment because they didn't listen to the whole thing. And we're always open to talking about this on our Discord. Just rolling ideas around, thinking about the actual morality of this stuff, and we'd love to have you join us there. Follow us on Instagram so you can see Lucas get clipped out of context and canceled immediately, and share it with a friend. Until next week, know that you are loved. God bless.